A fuel tank explosion in Mozambique kills dozens. Could losing the popular vote to Hillary Clinton limit President-elect Donald Trump's ability to push forward his agenda? And does this bird look familiar? Why pictures of a pheasant went viral. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Esther Githu. This is Africa 54. The United States has circulated a draft resolution to the UN Security Council calling for an arms embargo and targeted sanctions on South Sudan. This comes amid warnings by a senior UN official of possible genocide there. Political rivalry between South Sudan's President Salva Kiir, who is an ethnic Dinka, and his former deputy Riek Machar and Nuer led to a civil war in 2013. The conflict has often followed ethnic lines. The two signed a shaky peace deal last year. But fighting has continued and Machar fled the country in July. The UN Security Council has long threatened to impose an arms embargo on South Sudan. But Council members, Russia and China, who have veto powers, are not on board with the idea, saying such a move won't make a difference in a country already awash with weapons. Moving to southern Africa, Mozambique has declared 3 days of national mourning following a deadly truck explosion on Thursday. The truck was carrying fuel to Malawi from the port city of Beira when it overturned and exploded. At least 56 people were killed and 100 others injured. The Mozambican government says the blast occurred when locals tried to siphon fuel from the overturned vehicle. The injured, among them children, are being treated in hospitals in Tete province. The government has opened an investigation into the cause of the blast. History shows that new presidents often have the most political leverage at the start of their presidency, especially if their party also controls Congress. In the case of President-elect Donald Trump, both supporters and critics are debating the extent to which Trump has a mandate to govern following his election and whether he should do so with or without the support of opposition Democrats. VOA's national correspondent, Jim Malone, has more from Washington.
President-elect Donald Trump insists he's ready for the challenge ahead, and he sought to reassure voters in his recent 60 Minutes interview on CBS.
I respect it, but I'm not scared by it.
House Speaker Paul Ryan is eager to implement a Republican agenda.
Welcome to the dawn of a new, unified Republican government.
But new Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer offered Trump a more qualified welcome.
Where we can work together, we will. But I've also said to the president-elect, on issues where we disagree, you can expect a strong and tough fight.
Trump owes his election to fierce support from voters looking for change, says Daniel Hamilton.
People really felt they wanted him and to change the system versus lukewarm support for the establishment candidate.
With Republicans controlling Congress, expect Trump to move swiftly to enact his legislative program, says expert Stephen Wayne.
You want to cook when the stove is hot, and you want to move quickly. And usually the case is that presidents who get elected, the most favorable partisan political composition of the Congress occurs in their first term.
Congressional Republicans are likely to defer to Trump, says analyst Tom DeFrank.
He's the actual leader, and Republicans Republicans are going to have to kowtow is not the right word, but they're going to have to be a lot more accommodating to what he wants to do than vice versa.
But even Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell urges caution.
I think it's always a mistake to misread your mandate. And frequently new majorities think it's going to be forever. Nothing is forever in this country. We have an election every 2 years right on schedule. We have had since 1788.
Trump won a clear victory in terms of electoral votes, but lost the popular vote to Democrat Hillary Clinton, another factor that could limit his intention to govern with a strong mandate. Jim Malone, VOA News, Washington.
President Barack Obama brought his message of America's enduring unity and cooperation to the heart of Europe Thursday, stressing to Germans and all Europeans that America will continue to engage with the world. But once again, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump overshadowed much of the conversation. Speaking at a joint news conference with German Chancellor Angela Merkel, Obama was asked about how relations between the U.S. and Russia might change under a Trump administration. Obama said he had always viewed Russia as a nation the United States should work with when it can. Chancellor Merkel said that given their significant differences, she is very impressed so far with the peaceful transition of power between the incoming and outgoing U.S. presidential administrations.
This transition period in the United States of America, because it follows democratic principles, is working smoothly, because this is all about the American people. It's about the destiny of the American people. The outgoing administration is sharing its knowledge, its expertise with the incoming administration, and this, to us, is a sign of encouragement.
Merkel said she will keep an open mind regarding President-elect Trump, and it is her sincere hope U.S.-German relations will remain unchanged. The U.S. leader chose Germany as the main stop on his final overseas tour as president. The country is Europe's top economy and U.S. trading partner, an important member of NATO and host of thousands of U.S. troops. This last trip marks Obama's 6th visit to Germany as president. His arrival in Berlin Wednesday was preceded by a strong message reaffirming America's commitment to cooperation and engagement with Europe. Turning to business now, the African continent has enormous potential in various business sectors, from oil production, solar energy, and agriculture. But the continent is concerned about what the future holds in doing business with the U.S. under a President Donald Trump administration. And now, to help us answer some of those questions, I'm joined by Ngozi Bell, a native of Nigeria and an advocate for U.S. Small Business Administration. Ngozi, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you so much, Esther.
I'm just wondering, given that President-elect Trump is kind of mending relations with his political foes, even within his own Republican Party, should Africa really be concerned about him making any changes that affect how the U.S. and Africa do business?
Well, Esther, it's a very interesting time that we're in here. And one thing I will say is that we look forward to engaging President-elect Trump. One of the things that I believe is that it will be to President-elect Trump's benefit to leverage a lot of the initiatives that have been done by past presidents, Clinton, Bush, and now Obama. Africa is a very important part of the equation to economic growth in the world. There are a lot of initiatives that the Obama administration has already enabled, and we're hopeful that President-elect Trump will continue on those initiatives, because those initiatives are actually of benefit to the U.S. economy.
If we could probably just kind of single them out. Okay. If you look at Obama's administration with a big initiative of Power Africa, Ngozi, you wonder how will that go ahead after President Obama leaves office and a Trump administration comes in? What should Africa see enhanced when it comes to Power Africa?
So the hope is that with Power Africa, where the goal is to electrify the continent by adding 60 million lines, which is extremely important. If you look at the initiatives that have happened so far, U.S. businesses are getting finances, providing technical support to allow them go into the continent to bring clean energy into the continent. The benefit is that it's creating U.S. jobs. Okay, so that's a significant thing that we must not forget. So basically, the new opportunity is that if President-elect Trump continues down that line, more U.S. jobs will be created, right? Well, many more countries are getting on the bandwagon of Power Africa. Many more countries are leveraging the resources from the U.S. government into the continent. So you're getting an opportunity for U.S. to take the expertise and export it onto the continent and be part of the participation for growth on the continent.
And again, when you look at, you're talking about creating jobs, and one of the industries that would actually enhance Africans' way of doing business is having that power, and especially the IT industry. And you look at AGOA, where Africa has kind of enjoyed a very good relation in terms of trade and business with the United States. How do you see a Trump presidency enhancing this? We know that there's an extension of 10 years, but how well are we doing in AGOA so far, and what can be done to make it even better?
So I'm sure you know that recently Namibia is going to be exporting beef to the U.S. That is an amazing feat that's happened. It was a very challenging process, but the U.S. Government worked very closely with the Namibia government and made that successful. So what we hope that the President-elect Trump will do is to leverage those kinds of winnings and enable more exports to come in. One of the things that this administration is working on is a new initiative that's going to enable more of a reciprocated relationship between Africa and the U.S. So taking this model, if we can ensure that the relationships in terms of the regulatory barriers, in terms of the way that business is transacted on both parts of the U.S. and also on the African continent is more harmonized, we're going to have an opportunity for more exports to come into this country, not because the standards are reduced, but because those standards are understood upfront and relationships are created such that both governments can encourage each other to do what is required to ensure that U.S. standards are met, good products come in here, and both the interactions help businesses on both ends.
Now, Ngozi, all through the campaign period, we did not hear about some sort of Africa policy from Donald Trump's campaign. And I'm looking at him as a very successful business person, and I'm thinking he's going to bring that out when he comes to the White House. Should Africans, because they say we never heard anything about his policy towards Africa, let alone other parts of the world, should they expect that his business professional will come out and shine and kind of say, hey, I want to know more about the African continent and tap into what is the resources that are already there and see how we can kind of leverage this.
Esther, you make a very good point, right? President-elect Trump is a businessman. He understands the tenets of business. 7 out of the 10 fastest growing economies are in Africa. I am confident that a President-elect Trump is going to ensure that he looks at the initiatives that involve Africa and look at it in terms of how does that benefit the U.S. Because one of the things we have to keep reminding ourselves is that Africa is a market. It's one of the fastest growing markets in the universe today. 65% of Africa's population is under 35. What that means is that this is a market that will continue to grow for years to come. The needs of that market is also going to be significant in terms of IT needs, in terms of healthcare needs, in terms of commerce needs. So these is going to provide to the U.S. an opportunity for growth, which is exactly what the U.S. needs now. So I think Africans ought to embrace this new administration, work with the administration, make sure that the administration understands some of the specific needs and partner with it to create success on the continent.
Well, very well put, and a lot of hope there for our African friends in the continent of Africa. Ngozi, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Ngozi Bell is an advocate for U.S. Small Business Administration. And in other business news, okay, in other business news, U.S. stocks opened slightly higher with the NASDAQ index hitting an all-time high. Jill Malandrino has this report from New York.
Good afternoon from the NASDAQ market site in New York City. U.S. stocks open slightly higher across the board, and we can see the NASDAQ leading the way up about 0.2% as it hit a new high just this morning. Let's take a look at what we did during the week so you can see how the momentum was going. The 3 major indexes closed less than 0.5% short of hitting record highs last night, and we saw the Russell 200, the S&P Midcap 400 set all-time highs as well. So the major averages, including the NASDAQ and some of the smaller indexes, are really on a roll right here, and it continues to be a major push since the presidential election and ahead of an expected rate hike by the FOMC in December. Expectations spiked for hike yesterday amid a surge in housing starts and as jobless claims plunged even further as data has supported a change by the Fed. Financials extended gains on surging rates while real estate and energy lagged a bit. Now let's take a look at what's happening outside of the Trump transition and interest rate hike speculation at the December 14th FOMC meeting. Traders in the U.S. are also looking at how the dollar performs relative to global currencies, but more importantly, China's stance on U.S. trade. That's something for President-elect Trump to weigh in on as he decides whether to honor his proposal on tariffs on the world's largest trading nation, which has about $630 billion in U.S. trade in 2015. Sectors that we're taking a look at that could be impacted range from aircraft, so think of stocks like Boeing, all the way through technology, and we've seen that in stocks like Apple, Cisco, and Intel. Another concern is what's happening with emerging markets. Any overt or threatened protectionism would slow down world trade growth, and that hurts regions counting on export-led growth. So this is something that we're really going to be paying attention to definitely over the next 7 weeks as we go through the transition change. From the NASDAQ market site in Times Square, I'm Jill Malandrino for Africa 54.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, a closer look at reggae artist Mr. Ire. Stay with us.
Sarah Peretti's father died of Parkinson's in 2015, but it's comforting to her knowing he's still close by.
For me, it's have a diamond from my father is a memory, and I have a part of him with me.
The diamond Sarah refers to was made out of the carbon from her father's ashes. A Swiss company does this through a complicated process using machines.
This carbon is cleaned, analyzed, and graphitized by us, and finally put into a growing cell.
Algordanza factory chief technician Frank Ripke says in a month, using time and pressure, a diamond is made, cut and finished into an Algordanza, meaning remembrance, memorial diamond. But it's not for everyone, like Swiss resident Helmut Weiss.
I'd rather be fertilizer for soil than being a diamond.
But ashes to diamonds is in high demand worldwide, with Asia being a very big market. From VOA's BizBeat, I'm Philip Alexio.
Now, reggae music has traveled a long way since its Jamaican origins. Africa 54's Loic Youth went on a journey of his own to Massachusetts, where he met Brooke Gide, a young Ethiopian whose stage name is Mr. Ire, and his lyrics and rhythms have been compared to a major reggae music icon.
Oh, reggae music. It's probably not a genre you would relate to America's East Coast, but nicely tucked in Austin, Massachusetts is this studio where it all begins for Brooke Gide.
I've been waiting, hoping and praying. We deserve to have a brighter day. The circle of this life is quite delicious.
The first time I actually heard Brooke sing was in the studio.
So started from the end of that hook, the end of the last hook.
That's when I said, oh man, we are playing with Sizzler right here, man. The first encounter was at orientation. He was doing audio and I was doing video.
My real name is Brooke Gide. My stage name is Mr. Ire.
For all the way, you make it all for all the way. Yeah.
I first started with hip hop. I used to rap like Biggie, like write down all his lyrics. My friends used to ask me to do it at parties and stuff. And then I started listening to reggae. The message was deep, Bob Marley. Everything that I was thinking, wanting to help the world, do big things, like reggae was the message. So I switched it completely, man.
Mr. Ire, why you out?
Yo, I'm gonna be in the studio. Take some shots of that. Yeah, we built the studio from scratch. My boy came in, he has a background in construction, and there was nothing back here, bro. I came in one morning, like from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., bang, they had already built the frame, you know what I mean? And then we just went in, we did the detail, we had to go through the wall, punch holes, insulate it, everything from scratch. Make it acoustically sound, foam it up.
Fire.
I was making a beat in the studio and he just starts going off. I'm like, what? Like, this kid's fire. So we just started making music and started doing stuff and just build tracks. So it was pretty fun working with Brooke. Like, yeah. His style is real conscious to the point where it makes you think, like, where is he coming from with this? What did he live to, you know what I mean, to say what he's saying?
When I write now, it's more to say something specific, but in a beautiful way. Do you know what I mean? It's not like just rhyming, like hip and the hop and the dip and the dap. You know what I mean? I try to really make you think.
Him coming from Africa and me being born here, like, you get to see like a different side of people.
You get a degree, just do what you want. My mom. My dad said okay too, but he was a bit angry. But later on, he warmed up to it. Now he's like my #1 supporter, you know what I mean? So they came around full circle. Man.
Why? Who are you to cause this suffering?
And then when it comes naturally is when I know it's right, you know what I mean? Because when you sit down and write, sometimes you try to sound good for somebody, or you know what I mean? So it's just natural. I don't know how to explain it. It's all about your passion and doing what you love to do.
Blessing we require, now go sell to any buyer, now go second. Say we were meant to love. Never could have rat with them senseless crew.
Basically, he sings about good vibes, you know. It's about chilling and vibing. It's about the fire in his heart, you know. And Mr. Irie is just a blessing.
It's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. The pheasant known as China's Trump bird breaks the internet. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Mozambique, at least 56 people were killed and more than 100 injured after an oil tank truck burst into flames. In Zimbabwe, activists are in the hospital after they were assaulted before a planned protest in Harare against President Robert Mugabe's government. In Nigeria, 24 Chibok schoolgirls who escaped from Boko Haram militants are studying at American University of Nigeria after receiving scholarships. Finally, in Rwanda, Congolese refugees are studying for a U.S.-accredited university college after a charity named Kepler offers online courses. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
And welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Sweden's Risk Bank may launch its own e-currency, becoming the first major central bank in the world to create its own virtual money as the use of cash declines. Swedish bank branches are moving away from cash handling, while cash machines are scarce in much of the country. Some shops have stopped accepting cash payments altogether. Digital currency functions like payment cards, allowing users to make online transactions across borders instantaneously. It has been growing in popularity as more people use the internet to shop. Next up, former Indian Minister and Mining Baron G. Janardhan Reddy has stoked outrage among his cash-starved countrymen after throwing an extravagant wedding for his daughter, costing an estimated $75 million. The big day included a replica of a golden palace, invitation cards with LCD screens, and a wedding dress costing millions. Over 50,000 guests were in attendance at the Bungalow Palace grounds. The Indian government announced on Thursday that families who are preparing for a wedding can withdraw a total of about $3,000 at a time from a bank account. And finally, does the bird look familiar? Donald Trump may have found a look-alike in Little Red, a Chinese golden pheasant at this safari park in Zhejiang province. A photo of the native bird went viral after a journalist saw the similarity and posted it online. Little Red has lots of follow-up Trump look-alikes, but he's the crowd favorite here, and drawing plenty of visitors. Trump made headlines with his tough talk on China during the campaign, but Little Red may be living proof that two sides are not so far apart. And that's what's trending today. And that's our show for today, but we leave you with the beautiful music of Ivorian reggae singer Tiken Jaffa Kole. The song is called Drop the Blah Blah. Too much useless talking. And thanks for watching, and good night from Washington.
Alwele, para filung alwele, naluma wili wa, manebe namfa. Trop de blabla, j'entends trop de blabla. Et tout ce que j'entends, tout ce qu'il raconte, moi je n'y crois pas. Neta l'América, para fouiller Joyara. Neta la Italia, para fouiller Joyara. Nenana Africa, para fin de ove Joyara, ya no. Nanuma doke na ye. I don't get that yet. Promesse bla bla bla, trop de bla bla bla, y'a trop de bla bla bla. Pas de blé pour les paysans, bla bla bla. Promesse bla bla bla, y'a trop de bla bla bla. Rien de prévu pour les étudiants, bla bla bla. Promesse bla bla bla, y'a trop de bla bla bla. Le programme c'est du vent, bla bla bla. Promesse bla bla bla, y'a trop de. Alwele, para fina masalwa. Naluma wili wa, manebe namfa. Trop de blabla, j'entends trop de blabla. Et tout ce qu'ils racontent, tout ce qu'ils me disent, moi je n'y crois pas. Neta l'América, para fouiller Joyara. Neta la Italia, para fouiller Joyara. Nenana Africa, para fin de ove Joyara, ya no. Nanuma doke da ye, kadoke da ye, kadoke da ye. Promesse bla bla, trop de bla bla bla, y'a trop de bla bla bla. Les faux discours sur l'éducation, bla bla bla. Promesse bla bla bla, y'a trop de bla bla bla. Ils ont jamais trouvé de solution, bla bla bla. Promesse bla bla bla, y'a trop de bla bla bla. Tout ça c'est de la fiction, bla bla bla. Promesse bla bla bla, y'a trop de. Alwele, para fina masalwa. Naluma wili wa, manebe namfa. Trop de blabla, j'entends trop de blabla. Tout ce qu'ils racontent, tout ce qu'ils promettent.
Welcome to the Voice of America's Newswords.
Here is U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry talking about U.S. and Chinese relations.
Listen for this word.
Emergence.
We welcome the emergence of a peaceful, stable, prosperous China that contributes to the stability and the development of the region and that chooses to play a responsible role in world affairs.
Emergence means the act of something appearing. It is coming out of hiding or just beginning.
Emergence also can describe nature, like the emergence of flowers, which come every spring.
Now, when you hear the word emergence, you will know what this news word means.